Hello and welcome to the Radical Podcast, inspired by the essence of the word radical, proceeding from the root. We explore the roots of metaphysical wisdom.
This season is all about divination, tarot, and the power held within our intuition. This is The Radical with Nicole and Christina, the two metaphysical girls in the material world.
Hello, welcome to the Radical Podcast. This is Christina.
And I'm Nicole.
This week we're talking about the tarot card, the Chariot, card number 7 in the major arcana, tied to Cancer.
Yes, it is Cancer season.
Cancer season. And I was thinking of, summer solstice. Are you doing a breakdown now?
I can.
Forecast?
2 days before the sun enters Cancer, we have Chiron, the wounded healer, moving into Taurus. I probably said that during the Lovers episode because that is included in Gemini season, but it felt for some reason important to repeat it. So that is on June 19th, Chiron enters Taurus. 2 days later, June 21st, we have the summer solstice when the sun enters Cancer. Also on that day, we have our waxing half moon in the sign of Libra. June 28th, Mars enters the sign of Gemini. June 29th, we have our full moon in Capricorn. That is the sign in opposition to Cancer. That is also the day Mercury retrograde begins. But as we learned in our recent Mercury episode, you don't have to fear Mercury retrograde. On June 30th, Jupiter enters Leo.
Pretty fiery.
Be in Leo. Yeah.
Between the 28th and the 30th. A lot of fire happening.
Yeah. Jupiter stays in a zodiac sign for about a year. So it's been in the sign of Cancer for the past year. And on the 30th, it enters Leo. On July 7th, we have a waning half moon in Aries. And Neptune begins its retrograde in the sign of Aries. I think once Jupiter enters Leo, all the outer planets are in either a fire sign or an air sign.
Oh, that's very young.
Yes. Water and earth.
Get to the beach or the lake or the waterfalls
or go lay in the forest. Okay. So waning half moon in Aries on July 7th, as well as Neptune beginning its retrograde in fire sign Aries. Also, July 9th, Venus enters Virgo. July 14th, we have our new moon in Cancer. July 21st, we have a waxing half moon in Libra again, which kind of struck me as, how is this possible? I've triple checked my planner. I hope that's accurate. And then the next day on July 22nd, the sun enters Leo. When this podcast comes out on June 25th, we have the sun, Mercury, and Jupiter all in the sign of Cancer. But Jupiter will only be in Cancer for 5 more days. It will move into Leo on June 30th. And then we have Saturn. Saturn is in Aries. Uranus, I believe, just moved into Gemini. Neptune is in Aries and Pluto is in Aquarius. So fire and air.
It'll be in contrast to it being Cancer season, so zodiacal Cancer season, which is very, very watery and very, very, you know what I mean, yin. So it'd be interesting to see how that balance, or how it balances, how that plays out.
And that is your astrology forecast for Cancer season.
Let me go down this list, sticking to my notes. The card name is the Chariot. The Chariot. Victory. I saw it called Victory, but it's pretty, even going back into history. And we'll talk about the history and the symbology of this card. It's card number 7 in the major arcana. It's Roman numeral VII. Wait, do you have any numerology on 7 you want to do? You do.
I think a little bit. I do.
The only thing I have on 7 is 3 is divinity, 4 material world slash earth. That's why 7 is considered a one of the most auspicious numbers. Is auspicious the right word? Important numbers in the metaphysical world because it combines the heaven and the earth, divinity, the
Mm.
physical and the unphysical world because of the 3 and the 4.
So 7 can symbolize visualization, focus, and inspired action. It can be about a universal wisdom or a higher guiding principle, according to Alana Fairchild. She writes that the beauty of the 7 is that it brings us healing because the universal wisdom that it represents is essentially love, and love is the ultimate healing energy.
Nice. Element is water. Modality, Cardinal, because it's tied to Cancer, which is the beginning of summer after the summer solstice. It is a cardinal season, but the polarity is yin. Is this a yes or no card? It's a yes. Again, the zodiac sign associated with this card is Cancer, and visiting our Cancer episode from last season, the journey itself is home. That was such an eye-opening podcast that we did on Cancer. I didn't have a really good understanding of it because it wasn't one of my signs. You know, that's how I started in astrology, is I knew a lot about the signs that were directly related to me. I didn't know anything about the other ones. So I keep having these amazing light bulb moments. But 2 notes from that podcast: shelled creatures represent the journey of life from the womb and all the spiritual paths. And shelled creatures can be water shell creatures, but also it was tied to beetles and scarabs as well. If you remember when we were talking about the historical symbology of the zodiac sign. But anyway, also emotional security and archive strength through surrender. And there's a desire to connect with divine feminine found within is also another element of the Cancer energy in the Cancer season.
I think you're about to say this, but Cancer rules the one of the 4 cardinal lines or angles in our birth chart. And so Cancer rules the 4th house cusp.
Mm-hmm.
And that line slash angle forms our IC, the Imam Koli, which is the 6 o'clock position on our birth chart.
Mm-hmm.
And the 4th house in the IC represents like our very inner personal world. It's our home, our roots, our programming, our ancestry.
We just recorded and talked about those 4 angles in Tarot Meets Our Birth Chart. So that is like first on my mind, talking about those 4 directions. And yeah, Cancer rules the 4th house and is the cardinal. And I do have this note here. The planet is the moon, is Cancer's moon that rules this tarot card, the Chariot. It has a deep connection to the water and the moon, even though it is like this high energy land animal, you know, land wheeled conveyance. And it's the 4th house ruled by Cancer and the moon. And if you remember us talking about the court cards, the tarot card is the Queen of Cups for the 4th house, and for the for Cancer as a zodiac sign, because queens rule the cardinal houses, and we are in the cups, which is the suit of the queen. So it's water in the suit of water. A lot of water energy with this card.
That we agree on.
Mm-hmm. For the correspondences, the Hebrew letter in the alphabet is Het, sometimes spelled with an H, ETH, sometimes spelled with a C, or CHET. And the symbol for this letter is fence or enclosure. And the meaning as it relates to our study of tarot is guidance. And the tree of life. Go ahead.
Can I add one thing?
Yes. Put it in the chariot.
In 36 Secrets, she talks about the Hebrew letter for the cards. And this being Cancer's card, I think something else we can think about with Cancer is the idea of like boundaries. And with this Hebrew letter meaning fence, that's another layer that conveys this Cancerian, is that how you would say it? Cancerian idea of boundaries. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
That the Hebrew letter, conveys that same idea, that same theme. It's really cool when that happens.
It gives you another layer of it, and we just touch on it as a correspondence, listeners. If that sparks your interest, there is so much more information available on doing a deeper dive into the connection between the Hebrew alphabet and tarot. For the tree of life, in my book, it has the 8th pathway. On my chart, it has it as the 18th pathway. So those are just two numbering systems moving energy within that tree of life. And it's the pathway between the 5th sphere of Geburah, the sphere of strength, power, discipline, and also accountability. I love that one for this. And that's ruled by Mars. The 5th sphere rules all tarot 5s. And then the sphere, the second sphere is connected, is the 3rd sphere of Binah, which is for understanding, intelligence, and generally thought of as the feminine principle, ruled by Saturn. The 3rd sphere rules all the 3s and all the cups in tarot. So that's either the 8th pathway, depending on your numbering system, or the 18th pathway between the 5th and the 3rd sphere on the tree of life. The chakra from my book, it has the throat chakra for truth. My thoughts are, the chariot to me is so multifaceted. And then I got in my head about exactly what does multifaceted mean? It means having many different aspects, features, or sides. It describes something that is highly complex, versatile, or made up of multiple contributing elements. That's what I mean when I say chariot is multifaceted, because it has multiple contributing elements. So for me, it's the crown chakra for your personal mind. Mastery of your mind is an element of the chariot. And then the will to hold on to the reins and to guide the chariot is the solar plexus, but you're using your hands and your heart to control that energy. So it's the anahata. And then all of this card is also deeply tied to this physical material world. So it's the root chakra, because those wheels are connected to the earth. So that's just a few. And then I'm sure there's the throat chakra. And then I'm sure there's like the other secondary chakras, like the palm chakras and the, you know what I mean? Like all the other ones that we were talking about. But in my head, I see this card as multiple contributing elements, therefore chakras, energy in this card. And again, for the crystal, I had all thoughts about this too from my book, Blue Lace Agate. And then from my favorite website, it has the chariot with hematite, which didn't really resonate with me. Maybe if my chariot energy was really high, hematite would help me ground. I mean, and it is a metallic stone, which makes you think of like the material world. But when I think about this stone, especially after we did the episode on Cancer and I was talking about the moon and the water, I'm thinking of like seashells. Specifically, if you have like any part of like a crab shell or like a crab claw, even if it's not like real crab shell, it could be just the shape. To me, that would be such a powerful symbol of this card because the chariot is the shell or can be the shell. Or if you have a seashell that you've put things inside of when you're doing like your intention bowl or your intention area, using a seashell to add in the elements for your manifestation or your energy for this card. But
I like that.
yeah, because that is the chariot. But anyway, I felt a deeper connection to the moon and water and Cancer, like the crab. So I was thinking more of like the sea and seashells for crystals for this one. So big light bulb moment. One of my favorite websites, tarotcake.com, has an article about the chariot. And I read that the symbols in the chariot can be associated with a major symbol or theme from each of the previous 6 cards. And the major arcana, cards 1 through 7, are considered cards that are energies in the physical material world. So the chariot at the end of that part of the fool's journey or that part of the hero's journey is actually representing a lesson or a symbol or a memory from the previous cards. And the chariot is symbol heavy. There's a lot of things going on in this card. And after I read that piece of information, it just totally clicked. The light bulb was on finally, because I didn't have a connection to this card. I thought the chariot was like the shell that you just stick things to as you're moving along. I thought it was you gathering things. And now I see it as not things, but gathering like lessons. The magician can be, and talking about the Rider-Waite-Smith deck primarily, that's the deck tradition Nicole and I are talking about here, that the character is holding the same baton that the magician is holding in the magician card. It's a similar shaped baton. And Nicole, of course you posted the photos here. I didn't, but you did. You have them here so that you can actually see if you don't have them laid out on your deck, listeners. Nicole will share a picture of it. So the baton is similar in the driver of the chariot. The high priestess, there's often moon imagery on the charioteer themselves, but sometimes the moon imagery is on the chariot or specifically on the canopy. The canopy is like the canopy of blue with the stars, which represents you are under heaven. Again, it's another reinforcement that you're in the material world. So the moon and the stars could be a tie to the high priestess. And the high priestess, too, with the 2 pillars, it's the 2 beings pulling the chariot. That's another direct reference to the high priestess. The star headdress, and here that canopy comes from the empress. The chariot tradition in the deck of cards that we're looking at is a square, and that could be a connection to the emperor's throne. But also, if you look behind the chariot, there's those walls and the city. That too is also a representative of that Mars and that emperor energy, because it's talking about sovereignty in the physical world. And that was what those villages or those buildings behind the chariot could represent. And then did you see the note for the Hierophant? That the two creatures in the charioteer are an echo of the Hierophant because it has
Mm-hmm.
the two. Isn't that something? So it creates that triangle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Crazy. And now all I see is, but I didn't see it before until I read that article, and now I see it. And then the the crest and the symbols on the front of the chariot may have, I've seen them with a yin and a yang symbol, like the black and the white, but also the yoni and the lingam symbols, which is for yin and yang joined together. That reflects the lover's card. And sometimes there's even like that winged disc, which
Mm-hmm.
sometimes represents divinity, which is the divinity above the lovers as well. It is so, and then yeah, and then the chariot is the end of this run of those cards, but also each piece of it, like the chariot could be your soul. The canopy of stars symbolizes that you're in the material world. The black and white sphinxes or black and white beings, sometimes they're horses, sometimes they're unicorns, sometimes they're swans, they're different beings playing the card, represents our mind, specifically the conscious versus the unconscious. And, we're keeping those in balance all the time. Right? That's like the whole, like what we're doing on most basis is balancing out our conscious and our subconscious. The winged disc can also, like I said, it has the echo of the Raphael or the divinity above the lovers. And then the charioteer themselves is the ego or the self. Historically, the first version, the actual charioteer or the person who was in the chariot was the bride, and it was part of a marital um, celebration. So it was the bride in the chariot, and oftentimes the groom or somebody would be like guiding the horses. The second iteration, it was military parades. So it was a glorious return or the expression and the showing off of power and authority. And that's why we have an echo of the armor and the breastplate. There are elements of military in this chariot, and that is from that tradition, the echoes from that. And then the next charioteer is like a natural celestial type being with like flowing robes and a little more not militaristic, but we have a natural laurel crown, and we have softer ramaments, and now it feels like it's a transition into the metaphysical or the spiritual journey. So you might see, depending on your cards, it might feel very earthy and materialistic or very pageantry, but then some other decks have it as you're already moving into the ethereal realm. But is that not such a wonderful way to look at the symbology of this card and the placement of this card in the tarot deck, and with some of these symbols, where they came from and what they mean? It just made the card so much more meaningful to me. Like, I get it.
Yeah, I loved reading that little section in your notes. I don't normally
Mm-hmm.
read your notes, but it caught my eye and I was like, "Oh
Right.
my God." And then I pulled out all the other cards, starting with the magician through the lovers, and I was looking at everything and I was like, "Oh my gosh."
I mean, the chariot, like in the Rider Waite Smith, because Nicole, you have a picture of the cards. It looks like the Empress and the charioteer are directly related. They have like the same face and the same hair.
Mhm.
The Empress, like, so anyway, the more like you'll see more similarities, I think, listeners, the more you study the cards. But know that not every tarot deck is using this principle. Like your personal tarot deck might not have this symbology.
What's interesting, I've started looking at the cards for our next episode, the 2, 3, and 4 of Cups. And in 36 Secrets, she talks about because the 2 of Cups is Venus in Cancer. So the corresponding major arcana cards are going to be the Chariot and the Empress. And the two, there's this idea that the two people on the 2 of Cups in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, one is sort of wearing a similar crown to the Empress, and the other person is wearing one that resembles the Chariot's kind of crown. So interesting.
The 2 of Cups, and we'll get into the 2 of Cups, but the 2 of Cups is more of a connection of two people card than the Lovers, I think. Do you know what I mean? Like, so those two figures on the 2 of Cups are more of a couple than than possibly the twins on the, anyway.
Card comparisons. Before I did a lot of reading and research on this card, I was always kind of interested in how various cards conveyed stillness versus movement. In the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, it is what I think, it is my opinion that this Chariot is still. It is not moving. The two, figures that would be pulling the Chariot are laying on the ground. Other cards convey movement, speed, and so it's interesting to look at the different representations and think about that question. What's being shown here? Is it a sense of stillness, preparation, this idea of like potential energy? Or is there a movement? Is it the kinetic energy? In my Zodiac Tarot, we have a figure holding the reins of her chariot, or there's two horses. She's holding the reins of two horses. And her chariot has Cancer's crab on the side of it. The horses, one is red, one is white. I think that's a pretty solid theme to convey, duality in this card. The chariot and the horses, they're up in the sky. They're up above the clouds. There's a crescent moon in the background. And from her guidebook, she says, to better understand the relationship between the sign Cancer and card number 7, the Chariot, we must start from the fact that Cancer is a cardinal sign, and therefore it holds the power to start something. Only by aligning our intuition with rationality, which is sort of that yin-yang, can we reach our goal. The driving force of Cancer, its emotional water, will fertilize and feed the journey we must complete.
I haven't thought about the movement or the lack of movement. Yeah, the Rider-Waite-Smith, they're not going anywhere. And all of mine, I feel, project movement. Oh, that's so... Didn't even think about that, Nicole. I was too busy looking at crescent moons and and little buildings in the background. Okay, my first card is the Spirit Song Tarot, card 7. It's called the Chariot. The animal the author chose is the rhinoceros, and the keywords are discipline and determination. A group of rhinos is called a crash. It made a note, like, rhinos have good eyesight, but they still will run and have the potential just to crash into things. I think that is in their nature. The term rhinoceros it's from Greek rhinos is nose and Charis is horn. And we say rhinoceros, but I don't wonder if it was rhinoceros at one point in
Hmm.
time. And then we soften the C. I don't know why I was thinking about defining rhinoceros. When I was doing these notes, I have like 4 places where I did a definition of a word. That was, I obviously created this during Gemini season when my mind was overactive and I was trying to define and classify. And rhinoceros, they are herbivores, generally solitary. The rhinoceros as a spirit animal. I mean, think about the animal itself: power, endurance, protection, serving as this is like a unique guide for focusing on your inner strength and self reliance. There is an element or a sense of, like, as a totem or as a spirit guide, of having thicker skin, right? And using wisdom to navigate life's challenges. There is an element of having the strength to move through it, but also using wisdom. And this is a very grounding animal and energy, very stable. It's also a rare animal. And this was a thought that I pulled forward too, about encourages unconventional thinking and authenticity rather than following the herd. There is that element in the rhinoceros of sort of like individuality, their rarity, also their nature to be more solitary, but fully self reliant. That's the energy of the rhinoceros, which I can see for the energy of the chariot. You know, having what you need to get by on your own, having the will and the focus to move forward. The rhinoceros, not one of the animals I think about regularly, but totally feel that energy with this card.
In the Medicine Woman Tarot, she has renamed this card Warrior, and we have a figure riding a horse bareback, no saddle. Both the figure and the horse are gazing upwards. They're sort of surrounded by clouds. Um, the figure on horseback has a spear with a red tip pointing upwards, and that sort of made me think about the magician. The the horse, the clouds, the figure, there's also a bird. They're encircled in this sort of rainbow of purple, blue, green, and yellow. And I recognized it right away. This is the same rainbow that appears on the Temperance card from this deck. And, you know, what Christina was saying earlier about how the Chariot concludes one of sort of the phases of the hero's journey in the major arcana, so does the Temperance card.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting to see that she used the same kind of rainbow
Aw.
to sort of mark um those phases, I guess. And when Christina was talking about the 3 kind of segments that make up the hero's journey, it's like I want to go back and look at the cards in that context and look for
Yeah.
patterns and look for sort of things like this.
I think we're doing archetypes, but also we're staying in astrology and tarot. I guarantee you, when we hit some archetypes, we're going to be pulling forward groups of tarot cards and like putting together themes and symbols and energies.
Mhm.
I'm sure we'll be drawing even more connections.
Yeah, this is a very interesting way to break them apart and to look at
Mm-hmm.
them.
Mm-hmm.
Also, in the Medicine Woman Tarot, there's a shield with a crescent moon on it. And so this symbol is conveying protection, But I also saw a hint of the high priestess with that crescent moon and this idea of like intuition and spirituality. So that was that card. In the Antique Anatomy Tarot deck, this one's different. So you see a
Mm-hmm.
spinal cord and it's connecting two skulls looking in opposite directions. One's kind of looking up into the left, the other is looking down into the right. The curve of the spine sort of sets up what looks like the yin yang symbol to me. And on
Yeah.
one side of the spine, there's black flowers, and on the other side, red flowers. So I see a little hint of that. From the Antique Anatomy Tarot, she has a little section about what colors mean. And I usually use a different book for the colors, but in her book, she has red meaning anger, passion, love, sex, and danger, and black meaning fear, mystery, power, and pain. So this card is, I think, conveying this reconciliation of these primal feelings, but they're also kind of like opposing primal feelings. There's love and fear, anger and mystery, passion and pain. And it's allowing both to be present and not letting the shadow run the show, but integrating, reconciling, allowing both. And then as the charioteer, you are not letting the shadow take off in one direction. Like you're keeping
Mm-hmm.
them following the same line.
Mm-hmm. And the one of the notes when I was doing the history of the card is that often in some of the stylized decks from Europe, the sphinxes or the horses were looking and moving in opposite directions,
Mhm.
like with a lot more obvious of the charioteer having to hold them to go forward in the same direction, which is, I don't get that in the Rider Waite Smith deck, but some of the other deck traditions have a very obvious horses not going in the same direction.
And I think the skulls on this card, Antique Anatomy, I think you could see them as like horse skulls. They're not human.
No.
And so with that said, I think almost all my cards have horses on them.
They do. And I do not. I have a rhinoceros and then one deck, no animal at all. Um should I Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm moving on. we're keeping we're keeping this chariot focused and moving forward. The Wild Unknown Tarot has this as Roman numeral 7, VII, called the Chariot, keywords strong will and triumph. This is a white horse, or it could be a gray horse. It does have some flecking in it. It's not a pure white horse, it's black and white shading. There's a waning crescent moon on the forehead of the horse, which I feel like is a connection to the intuitive nature and the internal world nature of this Cancer moon card. There's a pentacle necklace around the horse's neck. Here, going back to when we were talking about pentacles, when the pentacle is arranged so that there's one point pointing upwards, it means the focus of this card is in an upward or ethereal or the mind realm, as opposed to when the pentacle is reversed and there's one point pointing straight down, like in the devil card often has a downward pointing pentacle. That is when the focus and the realm of the energy of this card is in the earth or in the material world. This author is choosing the pentacle to give this card a little more of the mind energy, more of the ethereal realm of this card. But there are 4 red corners. I think all the elements are represented here with that. It would be considered a type of solar eclipse energy at the top, the wind movement of the horse, the moon for the water, and then the earth with the pentacle. I feel like this is an energetic card. Even though the legs of the horse are not shown, to me, this is a movement card. This is
Mm-hmm.
an energy card.
In Mystic Mondays, we have a figure riding in a chariot.
I
To
love
me,
that.
it almost looks like she's on like a roller coaster. Her hands
Yeah.
are in the air above her head. The sky behind her is bright orange. She's flying over these 3 pyramids or mountains. And all 3 of them have like the yin yang like squiggle, if that makes
They
sense.
do.
Um, and there's a light side and a dark side to each of these little mini like mountains. So there's a little hint of the yin yang symbol that I see. So going back to our figure, her hands are clearly off the reins. They're above her head, they're in the air. So there's sort of this like confident energy. Like she's confident in herself, her direction, her plan. Is she being carefree? Or is she about to like totally lose control of the chariot if her hands are kind of like off the wheel? I don't know. Like I have questions. um the chariot itself looks like a little sphinx car. um it's I'm assuming there's 4 wheels. Um we can only see 2 because we can only see one side of the chariot, but the 4 is giving that stability, that sense of like stability and structure. To me, that's like a clear tie back to the emperor. Um, but yeah, this one's a little a little different with her hands in the air.
I had a moment when I was doing the research of like the charioteer holding the reins became really important to me for like half the day. And I was really paying attention to like the reins and the cards that show the charioteer actually doing it because it's the physical world, right? They're using their hands. Well, you know what, listeners, it doesn't matter because that is just a symbol of being in control of the being in full control of the duality of our nature on this planet. In The Secrets of the Witch's Garden, it is card 7, Roman numeral VII. It's called the Chariot, and the keyword is movement. Out of my decks, this one is the closest resembling the Rider Waite Smith imagery. The chariot is full of fruits and vegetables and grains, very agricultural or very harvest like. There is a little lute playing satyr along for the ride in the chariot, and there's a white horse and a black horse, an echo of the duality. And there's the full moon symbols on the chest plates, and there's the canopy of stars. There's the triple goddess, the sun on the horses, the triple goddess on the chariot. Lots of beautiful imagery. And this is not just a movement because the horses are rearing up, which makes me feel like even more urgent movement. But the charioteer is very calm and the chariot is very stable.
In the Light Seers deck, there's also a white horse and a black horse, and they are galloping at what looks like a very quick pace. The chariot that they are pulling, to me, looks quite plush and comfortable. There seems to be like some curtains, maybe like some twinkle lights. Like, this is like a nice chariot. And the charioteer is actually on top of like the little roof of the chariot. He's sort of like squatting on top of it and he's looking directly ahead. Um Again, like no reins here, not holding
Mm-hmm.
any
Mm-hmm.
reins, but there is a sense that this figure is like solid, centered, and like in control of this chariot. Like they are watching where it's going and they are ready to like leap into action if the horses start moving off course. Like there is a definite sense of like they are in charge. Um there is, like I said in this card, rather than stillness, there is a sense of like quickness, motion. The colors on this card, there's sort of like this sunset in the background, and I'm seeing that these colors are conveying like a combination of different forces at play. And so the yellow, we can think like solar plexus energy, there's optimism, well being. Orange, confidence, self control. Red, courage, ambition. And purple, the intuitive and spiritual aspects. So I like this one.
When I was talking about the symbology about the chariot representing your soul and the driver representing self or ego, I like this very much the way that the illustrator has this with the figure on top of the the chariot, because it's like you are not the voices in your head. You know what I mean? Like this self and this ego we have is part of who we are. It is not who we are. Our soul is who we are. And that lush little carriage right there is, that soul, and the charioteer is just one piece of that, as opposed to having like just the charioteer, or you know what I mean? Like this to me refocuses that what is driving this is is us in control of all of the aspects of ourself,
Mm-hmm.
all of the aspects of ourself working together. Yeah, that's like a very like simplified. It's like as far as the symbols of like the elements at play here: the duality, the soul, the ego, and direction. Working together on top of everything else. For my final card, it is the Sacred She. This is card 7, called the Turning Point. And here we have a figure in a rainbow coat about to emerge from thick woods, dark woods, into an open, inviting hillside with flowers and a bright sunny sky. This being called the turning point makes me think about when we shift from one energy to another, when we move from one environment to another. And here, this card to me feels very much like the figure is making the choice to shift the energy, is making the choice to step out of the woods and continue on their path.
In the Muse Tarot, we have a super tall figure standing sort of above, I don't know, like 10 or 15 horses of varying colors: white, brown, black. And it's almost like out of her fingertips because her arms are sort of
Mm.
extended downwards, palms open, and it's like the reins almost are radiating out of her fingertips to the horses below. She has this light beam sort of extending outward from her. To me, it looks like her navel center, like her solar
Mm-hmm.
plexus area. And from the guidebook, Chris Ann writes, the horses have different ideas about where they want to run. Some pull left and some pull right. But the chariot muse, with all her resolve and determination, coaxes these wild beauties onto the right track. She wants to remind you that your will is your magic.
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
Yeah, that's it. I love the imagery of all these cards. It's so fascinating to see so many different points of view and so many different schools of thought. And then after what we just talked about the representations of the main characters, and then there's no chariot in that final card of yours. There's no, you know, wheeled conveyance, but
Mhm.
it means to me the same thing as the other card because now I know what
Mhm.
that card is and how it fits into the journey and the energy of it. To me, it's the same thing. If anything, I relate more to the final one of your card because
It makes so much
how
sense.
often do we see chariot? I don't think I've ever seen a chariot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In person. So we have other ways of relaying. You need to be in control of multiple elements at the same time that are wayward and want to move in opposite directions.
Well, it's kind of like what we talked about in the Cancer episode last season. Like the journey itself is home. Like
Mm-hmm.
we are the crab. Like we have our shell. You are the chariot. Like we
Yeah.
are the shelled creature. And the shell
Mm-hmm.
is metaphorically like the chariot, but it's us. It's us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So a collection of words, if you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay. One of my books says progress through balancing opposing forces, being centered, having single pointed concentration or samadhi in Sanskrit,
Oh yeah.
focus. Yeah, focus. One of my books, Guided Tarot, says the chariot asks you to have a clear intention, focus, and a plan for action. Sheer determination alone isn't enough to propel you towards success. So you can be determined, but you need that plan. Harmonizing opposing forces.
You just said, and then I have a quote from tarotcake.com that is exactly what you just said. The chariot may promise movement, but it's up to us to ask where we're going and why. That is what you
Yeah.
just said. We have to know the plan and the
Yeah.
intention behind it.
Um, so harmonizing opposing forces. Also from the Muse Tarot, Chrysanne says maneuvering different forces in the same direction.
Mm.
There's also a sense with this card of mastery, having control of or control over our ego, planning, building momentum, making progress, inner drive, determination, ambition, confidence, being in the driver's seat, and taking charge.
Mm-hmm.
In reverse, the chariot could have various meanings, such as being out of control or moving too quickly. It could possibly mean plans falling through, feeling pulled in two different directions, or feeling stuck, stagnant, or aimless.
And from the Secrets of the Witch's Garden, they offer a question to help you write the reversal if you get this card into reverse. And you can ask, where do I want to go? I've got three cards for the message of the universe, for the messages from the universe, from the Secrets of the Witch's Garden deck. So pick one, two, or three. Card one is the King of Swords. The King of Swords is the energy that forms words and creates the structure of the mind. He is the organizing principle of air. Therefore, he decides how and where the wind shall blow. The King of Swords is a master planner who sees the entire picture and understands everything required. He organizes the mind like the software of a computer. If the Queen is the wind that blows. The king is the windmill who captures its power and channels it into energy. The King of Swords sits upon the throne of air, wearing a butterfly crown to match his queen. He is a master of discernment. His sword points straight to the sky as a channel for clarity. He holds the book of knowledge above his lap. A snowy owl perches on the king's throne, which is inscribed with arcane markings. These mysterious engravings reveal the inner working magic of the mind. The owl represents clear vision and seeing through darkness. The King of Swords reflects intellect forming ideas as well as scientific and mathematical achievements. His thoughts form through rules of logic. The material world aligns with his cognition. He imagines the world into existence. Let him remind you that all thought has the potential to become reality. The second card is the Eight of Pentacles. The Eight of Pentacles bursts with the sparkling sunlight and gorgeousness of a perfect midsummer afternoon. A gardener oversees an outdoor workspace. Vines and flora cascade down a pergola where she has placed handcrafted pentacle flower crowns. She displays her handiwork. Child apprentices work alongside her. A fairy looks over her shoulder, another gazes up at the hanging crowns, and the third fairy sits contently with the young girl. Time stops as all three are engaged in a perfect state of flow. The Eight of Pentacles appears to reflect you performing work you love. It is the card of craftsmanship and mastery. It marks displaying the work you do proudly for all to see. It is also sharing your gifts by mentoring others. It is passing art forms from one generation to the next. The fairies appear to represent the forces of nature working alongside you. You are in alignment and hard at work with what you love. The secret of this card is pleasure in one's work ethic. The third card, the Nine of Cups.
Ooh.
Your wish is granted. A mythical water creature emerges from the stone arc of a bridge. Like a genie in a bottle, she offers you the very magic you've been searching for. Nine cups stand on the bridge, reflecting all the contained emotion of your hopes and dreams. It's time to splurge, indulge, and taste life's pleasures. It is the delight of dreams coming true and the bliss it contains. The bridge marks the transition from one point of reality to the next. This is the boundary where life changes forever. The secret of the Nine of Cups is the Pandora's box in the form of a locked treasure chest tucked beneath the bridge. It contains the consequences, good, bad, and in between, of a granted desire. Be mindful of what you wish for. This card appears to tell you that you will get it. Bask in the satisfaction. Thank you, universe.
Next week, we're back with the 2, 3, and 4 of Cups. So until then, listeners, we love you. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode. The Radical Podcast is created and produced by Nicole and Christina.
Music by Van Horton. His Instagram is Van Horton Music. Stay in touch with us at linktr.ee/theradicalpodnc.